Our animals are better cared for than many people.
We have a lot of people who love these animals, and it doesn't matter what time of day it is, it doesn't matter what's going on, they are our priority 100% of the time.
Anything that we need or that we think that the animals need, the veterinarians are there.
We have a full-time veterinary staff, and if ever anything looks the slightest bit off with these animals, I can pick up a phone and call them, and they can be there within minutes.
I've been privy to big, major medical procedures on 3,000-pound walruses, but I've also sat with a veterinarian with a butterfly fish and literally not only x-rayed it to find out what was going wrong, but then used a very small feeding tube to give it some food because it was having a problem digesting. And that's the commitment we're going to make. That's why we're all here. And the park realizes that there's the same value to the 3-ounce butterfly fish as to the 3,000-pound walrus.
What we can learn from our animals in the park applies to the animals out in the natural environment.
We have a lot of people from our professional community who approach us with questions, hey, have you ever seen this before? Because chances are we have, simply because we have so many animals that we take care of.
We have a more aggressive preventive medicine program than what you or I might be used to with ourselves or even with our family pets at home.
We make sure we take a holistic approach at the care for the animals. And a big part of it is preventative and proactive care.
Vets are right there to say, let's do an assessment. Do we need to take a blood sample? Do we need to take an x-ray? Do we need to just do a physical exam?
People don't realize that when you work with animals, you have to be able to figure out what's going on with a patient that really can't tell you what doesn't feel well.
If there's something just slightly off, you're aware of it. And depending on your interpretation of that behavior, you may call the vets in to say, hey, I think something might be a little off here. Can we take a blood sample?
And we can be proactive in that way. And so we can catch illnesses and injuries way before they get to the point of endangering the animal.
Husbandry behaviors with animals are crucial. They're some of the most important behaviors we train. And at SeaWorld, it's a collaborative effort.
It's the science of training animals to cooperate with us so that we can give them great care.
And without the staff there to help teach the animals how to do that, the vets really couldn't do their job as well. So we are a very close-knit team and we work together closely.
We do this through the application of positive reinforcement. So the animals are making a conscious decision to perform a behavior that allows us to take better care of them.
And our animals are conditioned to give us every kind of sample and remain still for any kind of test really that you could come up with.
We do things from the day-to-day, such as cleaning their teeth.
We can ask a beluga whale to come over, take a needle, stick it in its tail fluke, withdraw a blood sample.
We basically are limited only by what the veterinarians want. When the veterinarians say, we'd like to condition this, we'd like to have that, we train it.
It's awesome because it's one of the most rewarding behaviors for me. Whether it's having a dolphin slide up on a scale or having a llama go into a chute for a hoof inspection, it's one of those things that the animals are participating in their own care, which is really, really cool.
SeaWorld's been rescuing marine mammals since before there was even a Marine Mammal Protection Act, so that commitment has been there for years.
I think it's just this park's commitment from the get-go that they want to contribute something back to nature.
We've done 22,000 rescues to date, 4 decades of doing this. Any call we get for any animal, we will go rescue it, bring it back, rehabilitate it, release it, return it.
The goal of our stranded rescue program is to make sure that we get these animals, we nourish them back to health, and we get them back out to the wild as quickly as possible.
And the 100% goal is to return them back to the wild.
Any of the rehab animals that come to SeaWorld from the wild are taken care of by our trained staff and our veterinarian staff. Whether it's a sea turtle, a bird, or a manatee, that's a very high priority for SeaWorld.
It entails every day giving animals a second chance at life.
It can be as simple as assisting with a feeding of a beached sea lion or getting a call at 3 o'clock in the morning and there's a stranded dolphin out on the beach. and you got to coordinate staff members and get people together and try to go help this animal, and there's never a hesitation there because it's what we do.
We rescue almost 300 birds a year. Many of them the large sandhill cranes. I would say at least a third of our energy and our work is spent on rehabbing native birds.
I don't think people are aware of the rescue mission and what we do every day at our parks. Right now there are sea lions that are being rescued at an alarming rate in San Diego, and we have teams out there 24/7 taking care of that.
I think that's something that people may not be aware of, how driven, how passionate, how much sacrifice personally some of our people give up of their personal lives to be on call 24 hours a day, to be able to go out and rescue animals in distress that may not fall in a 9-to-5 workday.
If we get a call, I could leave here in 2 hours and not be back for 5-6 days because we have a mass stranding somewhere in the U.S. Once that call comes, we grab everything we need for what we're going to deal with, and we go. And when we get home, we get home.
When the animals come to this park, they get the best care. Everything we learn from our animals that live here in the park helps us better with the animals that we rescue and rehabilitate.
We do so much rescue that certain times of the year, the veterinarians spend probably 50%, if not more, of their time on rescued animals, taking care of animals that are actually they're not even SeaWorlds. They're wild animals that come in, and they come in here for the best treatment we can possibly give them, and then we send them back out.
I've seen the animal care staff and SeaWorld really offer that to these animals, and it's been so nice to be able to see these animals become great, big, strong, healthy animals after they leave us, and they're just taken care of very well, and that really takes a load off.
Everything that this company gives to the rescue program, they give from the heart and the soul.
We get it done, and this company says, JP, whatever you need, we'll get it for you. Just do what you need to do and we'll figure the rest out later.
They get great care here because our veterinarians are on staff and on site. Our laboratory is here, on staff, on site. If the animals need anything from the electricians, our carpenter shop, our automotive shop, all it takes is a phone call and it's done in a heartbeat.
Anytime our guest walks into the park and pays for their ticket, they are actually helping us rehabilitate all the animals that come through SeaWorld.
We'll work with various organizations. They may be first responders to a certain animal, whether it's a bird or a dolphin. A lot of times we're able to provide that expertise and knowledge when they'll call us and say, hey, this is on our doorstep, what do we do?
Most rescues are a lot more complicated than they're portrayed. It requires a lot of cooperation from a lot of different groups, with FWC and SeaWorld being two of the primary groups that work together on a regular basis.
SeaWorld definitely plays a vital role by contributing unique resources that may not be available to a lot of organizations or agencies.
Well, they've actually been able to help us a number of times with animals that have become entangled in the wild.
With sea turtles in particular, we've really started establishing a relationship with a sea turtle rescue facility that's in South Padre Island, Texas. It's called Sea Turtle Inc. And we've been involved traveling down there, working with them for a week at a time, helping them out, and we want to be there for them.
We had one animal, it was actually a young calf, a mother and calf, and the calf had fishing line basically wrapped around its entire dorsal fin, and it was starting to sever the fin off. We were able to, in the wild, disentangle the calf successfully, and then we released the mother and calf together.
One organization that we've supported for many, many years is called SANCOB in South Africa, and they rescue and rehabilitate hundreds of African penguin chicks every single year. So our tours they're directly helping this organization conserve penguins.
There's 22,000 animals that SeaWorld cared enough to help, and that means a lot to me.
Conservation here at SeaWorld is a mission. It's a responsibility that we have and we all take very seriously.
I'm so passionate about the conservation side of things. It's making that connection to people who come to the parks and see these animals and trying to get across the message of what is happening out in the wild.
It's in everything that we do, from educating guests to rescuing manatees to sending experts across the world to help an animal in need. We're there. SeaWorld is there.
SeaWorld is dedicated to the conservation of marine species, period.
They're definitely focused on a bigger picture, not just wildlife, not just the care of animals, but from recycling to conservation to focusing on the things that are important. This company has always been strong on it.
From the top person down to the bottom, they're there because they're passionate about what they do. They want to do the right thing.
We all need to be in this together, and I'm happy to be able to work with various researchers and people that are doing wonderful things out in the environment to help animals.
They won't take no for an answer. If there's a challenge, if there's a way to help an injured animal or wildlife through conservation efforts, they're committed.
Manatees are a good example of this. They're an endangered species. Every single individual animal is important. And so through the work to rehabilitate those animals, we're actually able to make a positive impact on the conservation of that species.
And they want to help not only the animals right in front of them, but the future of animals in the wild and the global conservation efforts.
There's a greater need to help wild populations and help wild places now than there ever was. To be able to get that message across through our parks, through our animals, is something that I think is crucially important at this point in time.
Research is important simply because you have to look at sort of a big puzzle. The puzzle has missing pieces about animals and habitats and the way the biodiversity works. We learn pieces of that puzzle here in our living laboratories.
I personally have worked with a lot of SeaWorld researchers on a whole wide variety of research and science that you only see a part of when you actually come to the park. So there's a whole lot more going on underneath.
We can do a lot of research here in our parks that it would be almost impossible to do out in the wild. Things like raising fish in a laboratory, or looking at acoustic hearing ranges of dolphins, or cognitive abilities in sea lions. That's all stuff that you couldn't really do out in the wild. But you can do it here in our parks with our research projects, and then give that to scientists out there, and oh man, it just gives them just a head start on the research they're doing.
There's a flow of ideas. We work with the staff over there. They notice amazing things about their animals, and we try to understand how it works. Or we have ideas about things that might be great projects over there. We propose them and do the work.
They really do participate at an international level with other aquariums and zoological facilities around the world, but also with wild populations of animals from a rehabilitation setting to a research setting. And it's not something that I think most people are aware of.
The people that are studying animals in the wild learn the other pieces, but they can't see what we see because it isn't so up close and personal. They hardly ever see baby whales born at all. They don't know what the growth patterns are, the nursing capacity, the nursing frequency.
Our reproduction program is a major part of that. It's been very, very successful. Remember, we've had roughly 80% of the whales and dolphins that live within our parks were born right here at SeaWorld or in some other zoo.
We were the first to develop artificial insemination now in killer whales, Pacific white-sided dolphins, bottlenose dolphins, and beluga whales.
It's consistent with our larger mission, which is to have population health.
You can develop these technologies, and then that benefits the wild animals too.
We publish peer-reviewed papers in journals, and we also go to conferences and basically spread the love, spread the news of what we're discovering. And yeah, it's very important to disseminate this information so that it can be used by other zoos and it can just contribute to the basic understanding of a species' physiology.
SeaWorld is part of a whole global community when it comes to research, when it comes to conservation, when it comes to rehab of animals. We're kind of like a cog in a big piece of machinery, all these pieces working together.
The beautiful thing about our conservation fund is that 100% of the money donated is granted back out to projects around the world and right here in our own backyard.
SeaWorld definitely plays a vital role in those efforts by contributing resources that may not be available to a lot of organizations or agencies.
One organization that we've supported for many, many years is called SeaWorld in South Africa, and they rescue and rehabilitate hundreds of African penguin chicks every single year. So our tours they're directly helping this organization conserve penguins.
Funding is a huge obstacle and a huge challenge for stranding networks to be able to continue the work that we do. And recently I was able to apply for a grant with the Conservation Fund, and it's really been a huge help to our organization just over the last year and what we've been able to accomplish, equipment we've been able to purchase that we really needed on site for rehabilitation so that we could continue what we were doing.
It was started back in 2003 to give something to the environment, and it's a nonprofit part of our company. We've given millions of dollars to projects in over 60 countries that really focus on research, education, but also sustainability and keeping animals and habitats around for years to come.
People come here to be inspired and entertained, and the rides, of course, tie into that. I think it's the balance of everything that makes it work so well.
Those interactions that we have with our guests, and you can see the looks in those kids' faces when at the end of the day, at the end of a show, end of an interaction, and the joy that you see in their faces is something that can't be compared to any other job, I don't think.
We see the inspiration all the time, and it goes on all throughout our park, whether you're working with the sharks and the stingrays, the flamingos, or the killer whales. People have that level of inspiration, and it's great to see those questions and that kind of wonder building within them.
I know that when I leave for the end of the day, there are multiple kids that are going to have a new appreciation for these animals, and that's really what it's all about.
Not only do I want you to be excited about seeing the animal, but I want you to know that animal and appreciate it, and eventually it may even wind up saving that animal.
I work at Blue Horizons now, and it's an awesome show. People are crying. Just the uniqueness of what we do there, it draws people's emotions, you know, those connective emotions.
They'll have an appreciation for the environment, the animal, and where it lives, not only here at SeaWorld, but outside of SeaWorld, where we find it in the wild.
I think they come here and they're affected through the entertainment aspects that we do, and that drives them to then go out through their lives and seek out other information and other ways to impact the world.
They will tell me, you would not know what you did for my child when they went and watched the Shamu show or the dolphin show. They talked about Shamu or the dolphin show or the sea lion show for weeks after that. We read books. We went and found out about sea lions. We found out about dolphins.
One show or one interaction can have impact on one family or one child, and they go home and they tell their friends and their coworkers and their classmates about animals and about how we can make a difference. I think that is just the best day ever.
The connection with SeaWorld started when I was 4 years old. It was the first time I came to Shamu Stadium and I saw a killer whale show, and I told my dad, I have to do this.
I was 5 years old, and I came here with my family and saw the Shamu show, and I said, that's it, at 5.
And for me, that was absolutely what happened. It was trips here at SeaWorld that inspired me to want to work with marine animals.
When I came to SeaWorld, I was forever changed, and I wanted to be a part of changing people like I had been changed, and that's why I do what I do.
I think of one particular camper that was part of our camp program, and now she is off doing manatee research in Florida, and she's on her way to her PhD.
My first introduction to SeaWorld was a visit just with my family, very young kid. That is what really encouraged me to want to get involved with the animals.
I've always been interested in animals, but the foundation I got here at SeaWorld really put me on a path towards marine science that I don't know that I necessarily would have hit otherwise. After college, I'm probably going to pursue a degree in either biological oceanography or in marine biology, so a pretty big impact overall.
I currently have a mentor student that came in not really knowing what a coral was. She wasn't really that familiar with it. She's just enjoyed it so much doing her weekly research that I think she's really been inspired to want to conserve coral reefs and maybe even steer her career in that direction.
Our camp program started 15 years ago. Imagine kids back in high school 15 years ago have already gone on to college, finished college, and now they're in their career or they're seeking out their career, and this is, for a lot of them, this is their career, and I'm so pleased to see these kids come back. It's kind of a full circle feeling for us, and it's great.
These animals impact the people that come to see them. They change them, they move them, they make them stop and think. They make them laugh, they make them cry.
We're here to educate people about the animals. If they walk away from here and they've had that amazing vacation moment where they've been able to interact with the animals or learn something about the animals that they can share with their families and make that lifelong memory, to me that's what it's about.
These animals, they are ambassadors. They are ambassadors not just for their species, but they're ambassadors for the aquatic world. They're ambassadors for the ocean. They're saying, take stock. Stop and take a second and look at the environment I live in and make a difference. Make a difference for me and my family and my species. Make a difference for all these other animals.
I think about how many people we affect on a daily basis. Each show, I mean, we hold 6,000 people per show. So even if you affect one person per show, when we're doing 7 shows a day, that's 7 people a day that you can ultimately change their life. How amazing is that?